Good morning. So, today we are going to continue with our literary essays MVP. And I decided that I tried OpenAI's Codex. It honestly failed pretty hard. It created a complicated architecture and it didn't really work. Um, and lastly, also, this interface is kind of ugly. And one other thing that you might have noticed if you were very smart and watched very carefully, but the Codex AI agent missed pretty much the main point of this project, which was to use LangGraph. Now, maybe that got lost somewhere along the way in the prompt, um, condensation, condensing, and moving it from AI from like the AI chat into the Codex AI agent. But either way, this I'm just gonna say was underwhelming. So what we're gonna do today is we are going to move into Claude and see if Claude can do a better job. Claude code. So we're gonna close this Claude session on a different project I have and move to the Codex project, and we're going to start Claude here. And now we're going to create a Claude.md file for this code-based documentation. And then we're going to grab the we'll just wait for it. Most of the code should be self-explanatory, at least in terms of the functions and what they're trying to do. Here it wants to get a comprehensive project structure. Yes, I would like to proceed. Now, it's possible that OpenAI did a great job designing our project, and Claude will take us all the way, but seems only fair if one AI agent system fails in the first hour, we can try to see if we're working on a project again for a second hour if another AI agent does a better job. So there's a thorough understanding of the code base, and it's time to create the Claude.md file. Now, hopefully, the Claude.md file will help reserve token use and reserve our usage limits. And we can take a look at how much that just used 4% of our current planned limit. I'm only at 39% for the week, which resets on Monday. So honestly, I need to be doing more coding with Claude Code. Yes. Let's create the Claude.md. Great. This project was supposed to use LangGraph to run agents that way in order to um, create an essay for a book pulled from Project Gutenberg, and the agentic LangGraph system was supposed to ingest the book into Pinecone Then discover all the literary themes in the book. Then find citations that showed all the themes and create a long essay out describing each theme that includes citations. I tried building it with OpenAI Codex, and it didn't even include LangGraph at all. This system also didn't end up even working at the ingestion level. Is there anything else we want to include? The front end is not very well designed, either aesthetically or functionally. The plan was to eventually deploy this on fly.io and later integrate a user login system and payment for users to pay to use this app. Anything else? And maybe upload their own texts. Was there anything else we wanted to make sure was happening? That seems like enough for now. Let's let it work on it. Meanwhile, let's open up our IDE. I'm hoping one of the first thing it does is update the requirements. Do I have preferences on the front end? Let's see. It's a failed first attempt, has the right general idea, misses the core requirement, yes. Instead, we have raw OpenAI API calls in llm.py, a manual job queue in PostgreSQL, a basic single-page front end, and a broken ingestion pipeline. So we need a LangGraph agent graph, working Pinecone ingestion, a well-designed front end, future-ready architecture. I like Vue.js. I just do. I like Vue. React is great, but it gets slow and you end up having to use a lot of contexts. Vue has some issues with prop drilling, but that's what makes it more I want it to build them both in parallel. Keep Postgre and use look, it's recommending OpenAI. Submit the answers. Vue's prop drilling, I think, is why it's efficient. So it's worth doing it. I also like the way that Vue separates the code from the components. I think it's easier to read through, and a lot of the time reading code is super important. Now, it could be I say, hey, let's just have this do the back end, because that's the complicated stuff. And then we'll update the front end, maybe if we run out of context, with the codex agent. I don't want to write it off completely. It's not like it didn't build code. But I do want to see if Claude Code is able to build something that works better. And it's designing the implementation plan with a plan agent with OpenAI's Codex, it definitely worked less. And I was constantly testing it, providing errors, and in that way, it felt more like, hey, this is fun, this is interactive. But mostly it was dealing with like things it did not do correctly, things it left incomplete. With Claude Code, I find a lot of the issues are, oh, I didn't ask it to be specific enough. Here, it built something basic when I realized now I wanted something more complicated. See how our limits are doing? Just 6%. There we go. I wonder if I can make, yeah, I realized it might be nice to make things a little bit larger. Not a lot to do but wait. We could go through the architecture a little bit, but we could review what we have before. This was you do a search, you get your ID. That did work. Then once you're supposed to copy in your ID manually here, it sets up a job, and then the job would just sit idle. And we didn't get to a point of ingestion completion. So that's a weird J. We got a lot of different files. And we set up a PostgreSQL database that hopefully is still running. And we're writing the final plan to the plan file. Great. I'll admit, after I really like the error, work on it, fix the error, the next error cycle. So yesterday, even after the cutoff mark at an hour, I was like, ooh, I really wish I could just keep working on this all day. And that can be, I guess, a bit of a trap because you can have something that an agent that you just have to wait and hope it creates something and then it does correctly. Or you might, here we go. A nice long plan. All right, should we read it or should we just accept it? Rebuild the backend around LangGraph, replace the vanilla JS frontend with Vue 3. We're going to add requirements. Yep, great. Create the app graph package. Yeah, let's just let it go. And we can read this as it's going. Inputs will be job ID, document ID, Gutenberg ID, title, author, Pinecone namespace. The outputs, segments, segment count, ingest complete. Theme output will be themes. Evidence output, the dict of theme to a list of scored passages. That's useful. And then we'll have the essay markdown, essay approved, revision count, review feedback. Progress will be the current step and any error. Prompts will be the LLM prompt templates as constants. The app graph nodes.py, 7 node functions. Each receives the state dict and returns partial update dict. Useful. So ingesting document will fetch the Gutenberg text, normalize segment, embed, upsert to Pinecone, skips if already ingested. Discover themes node. I wonder how it will know if some things are already ingested. 4 to 6 literary themes. Okay. I guess that's good enough for now. Hopefully this is something we could update without it breaking. It would just cost more. Batch embed the themes. Query Pinecone the top 8 per theme. LLM generates structured essay with citations, self-critiques, checks theme coverage, citation accuracy, coherence, and returns whether or not it's approved and the feedback. Revises essay based on review feedback. And then writes job artifact. Rows. Marks it as succeeded. And then the builder constructs the graph. Start, ingest, discover themes, retrieve evidence, draft essay, review essay, conditional. If approved or revision count greater than 2, persist results, end. So we've got a limit on our revision count. That's useful. We're going to AI invoke the graph instead of process job. And we're going to move all API routes under an API prefix. Create a single essay pipeline job instead of separate ingest and generate essay. Ensure document logic from ingest into main.py. Job create find the document row. Interesting. Maybe that will create some migrations for that. We're going to be using streaming to pull the job progress from the DB every 2 seconds. And that way we'll be able to see when the current state changes. Sends the done event. Server-side events will be used here. Okay. Update job progress as a helper. And delete the old pipeline files because we're moving that logic to graph nodes. That's fine. They did not work anyway. Files kept unchanged. Models.py, db.py, Gutenberg.py, segment.py, Pinecone client, login config, and migrations. So no migrations changed there. It's going to scaffold. Let's see where it's at right now. Oh, it needs to run. I was about to say it's going to have to be running Node.js and ask me for that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and install. It's creating and installing the front end. It's installing some front end packages that it needs. Now it's creating the front end files. Great. After it builds the front end, it looks like it's going to want to do production build integration. So I'm going to come over here, see what we have already running. That's been interrupted. I wonder if it will want to run the Python install update itself. I probably will do it for it because I use virtual environments here. I guess nothing to do but to check on our limits. Up 48% used. So like I said, we can code for longer with OpenAI's codex and its limits. Let's see, what do you want to do? Type check the view front end. Sure, why not? It just keeps doing this over and over again, so I'm gonna say no. Just continue without type checking. Now it's building the front end. Built cleanly. There you go. Now production build integration. Updating the Docker file. Wrote a memory. Fascinating. See, if I put accept edits on, it would have gone into an infinite loop previously. Okay. So everything is complete, it thinks. We used 48% of our current session limits. And it hasn't told us what to do. It just has said, hey, it's done. So it's up to us to know what to do next. And I think at least the first thing we're going to want to do is install the requirements. So we have an issue with our OpenAI version. So we're just going to delete that and try again. Great. So now we have that installed. We still have Vibecode app and the worker. So we're going to run that app. Over here, we're going to run the worker. We actually still have the same error as before, which is the jobs.next. And I think that's because we're going to need a migration. I'm going to clear, run that worker once, kill it, and just get this clean problem here. And let it know, hey, I think it's going to say, oh, there's looking for something in the database. We need a migration. Oh, it says no errors here. Maybe I didn't copy it incorrectly. Let's try again. Yeah, it's only copying in a certain amount, not all of it. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Yep, next attempt at column doesn't exist. Oh, I need to run the migration that adds it. Ah, so there was a migration. Something's fun with my copy paste today. Let's just try that. Also no. Let's do it here. Run it from the project root, it says. Pretty sure I tried that. Let's tell it. Ah, there we go. Instinct was right, flag was wrong. There we go. Okay. Now that means should be fine. That's where we're doing upgrades. Where are we running our worker? It was here. Have to go one more. Alright, no jobs, sleeping. It built our front end, so that should be different now. It's not. That's a different project. Let's just ask it. How do I access the front end now that it's built? Let's maybe restart this. Still got the old front end here. All right, let's do that. We need to move into the front end file and then run npm run dev. There we go. Now it should be here. Here we are. I guess we can test to see if this still works and how it works. Nicer. And now if we click it, see, already better. We get to click one of these and it puts in the ID for us. And then let's click generate. Pipeline progress. Embedding 2,475 segments. Job fit. All right. Isn't that fun? I exceeded my current quota. On what? On my OpenAI embeddings. Let's take a look at why. I think I know why. The OpenAI API. Because I have no money. Right? How can I do any quota without some money? So, edit the budget. You must be on a paid plan, and I'm not. So, run your next API request by adding credits. Go to billing. Credit remaining, 0. Add payment details. I'll do this, and then I'll come back in just a second. Okay, so I've added $10 in credits. Don't know what this free trial means, but let's go back and try it again, yeah? New search. Let's skip right to what is it? Every time 1342. Generate. And here we are. Back to the real pipeline. And hopefully this time might be that. Ah, yes. I stopped the worker. So here we go. It fetched it. It's doing a segmented count ingestion. It embedded the things. Hey, so we're already further along after using Claude Code for, I mean, we did some scaffolding with codecs. Let's not pretend it didn't do anything. But 35 minutes in, oh, job failed. Why'd it fail now? Looks like a Pinecone problem. Pinecone API exception. Decoded message length too large. Found 20 million bytes, and the limit is 4 million bytes. But we did create a Pinecone index. Let's go see that. Yeah, we've got one. So let's let Claude handle the error. It's exciting that we've started to hit the services that we wanted to use here, and we've got LangGraph integrated. The single upsert is too big, and the fix is to batch the upserts. Now it will go in batches of 100 vectors at a time. Fantastic. Easy fix. And understandable mistake for Claude to make, right? Tried to do things the most efficient way. Said, nope, there's an API limit on that. Sorry. And notice the previous jobs aren't messing with the next jobs. 1, 3, 4, 2. Generate. All right, we're embedding the 2,475 segments. Oh, we've got another error. Why? Metadata value must be a string, number, boolean, or list of strings. Got null for field chapter and details. Another understandable issue. I'm guessing it will be able to handle this. Okay. Not sure if that's the right thing to do, but we'll trust it and try. This is unnecessary, but we're going to do it anyway. Back to a new search. 1342. Generate. All right, we're ingesting, fetching the text. Suppose it would be nice if we weren't doing that every time. Also, we're embedding the vectors every time, which could also get expensive. But hey. The upserts are working. So the reason why I'm not super worried about ingestion of like 2,000 vectors is, and I mean repeating that over and over, is if we look at our usage, we've used like a penny. Even with 3 different requests for embedding lots of vectors. So vector embeddings are cheap. Oh, it's discovering themes. It's retrieving evidence nodes. So exciting. So we've got our vector database running. It's drafted an essay for one theme. Now I wonder, to find the theme, is it ingesting the complete document? At this point, we should have started using the chat completions. Still only have embeddings, but sometimes this can be slow to update. The essay is not approved. Our revision count is 0. Let's ask it some questions, shall we? Great. We are making some real progress now. See these logs. I don't know how to hit enter without. I'm just going to put in a space. Maybe Alt enter. There we go. Alt enter. We found it. How does discover themes node work? Does it just send the whole text to an LLM? Which one? Where is that set? And frankly, I might have it create a page that tells us how this LangGraph graph works, right? Builds a prompt. Oh, just to see with model settings dot OpenAI chat model. It's the OpenAI chat model. It's currently GPT-5 mini. Oh, the reason you're only getting one theme is likely that title and author are both none on the document row. And yes, I would like you to fix that. Yes, fix that. Meanwhile, I don't have the book title. But we did get an essay. Hey, we got ourselves an essay. Even though we only got one theme. Marriage and social reputation, gendered expectations, in the limited intellectual life permitted to women in public situations, flirtation and youthful recklessness, gossip, social judgment and matchmaking, and family responsibility and consequences. And they show how Austen's narrative voice ultimately negotiates social comedy and moral critique. Marriage and social reputation. Austen presents marriage and courtship as affairs with broader social repercussions. One sister's improvidence threatens the family's importance, our respectability in the world. And it gives a segment ID. That explicit phrase links private conduct to public standing and makes reputation a kind of social capital that marriage decisions can augment or squander. The same passage continues in close admonitory syntax. If you, my dear father, will not take the trouble of checking her, she will soon be beyond the reach of amendment. Where the conditional and the direct address dramatize parental responsibility as the mechanism by which reputational harm is to be forestalled. Deeper reading. Diction and narrative stance. The diction in this passage, words like volatility, disdain of all restraint, beyond the reach of amendment, has a clinical bluntness that converts an intimate family quarrel into a quasi-legal case about social injury. I've actually read Pride and Prejudice, so I'm enjoying this. It's a good book. The narrator's moralizing cadence borders on satirical hyperbole. Example, the most determined flirt that ever made herself and her family ridiculous, which lets Austen both condemn Lydia's behavior and subtly mock the heightened anxiety that turns a teenage flirtation into a family catastrophe. This double effect shows Austen's method. She uses pointed diction and a brisk admonitory voice to make reputational stakes palpable while also allowing irony to undercut purely moral panic. Transition to the next theme. This worry about reputation shapes expectations for women's conduct in social spaces, and it is closely tied to the novel's treatment of what women may discuss or display in public settings. Gendered expectations and intellectual life. The passages state how social conventions narrow what women are expected to do at public entertainments. No, I cannot talk of books in a ballroom. My head is always full of something else. A second line. Books. Oh no, I am sure we never read the same, or not with the same feelings. Compresses the presumptions that women's reading is either incompatible with fashionable sociability or fundamentally different from one another's. Even the tentative author, but perhaps you would like to read it, frames reading as an occasional, personal indulgence rather than a public or shared intellectual pursuit. Deeper reading, syntax, tone, and irony. The short, clipped exclamations and dash-marked interruptions. Books, oh no, mimic conversational dismissal and create a comic immediacy. So it's not terrible. It did work to create an essay. The essay does have citations. I think um, one of the issues we're seeing here is an issue that people often have with, um, retrieving top eight, which is that when, like, and just the structure of the essay in general, like, it's a little too blunt. Like, you couldn't actually give this essay to a teacher and have it be good. Why? Because it just goes from theme to theme to theme to theme, and it doesn't provide real transitions or any description of what's going on. Um, and I think that that needs to be fixed a little bit. So now ensure document fetches title and author from the Gutendex API when created a new document. Now your existing document row for books. I mean, but we did eventually get themes, so I'm wondering why. And before I judge this, I suppose I should rerun it. So, simplest fix is delete the existing document. Or add the fallback. Yes, let's add the fallback. While we're at it, let's also add a page to the front end with a link. Let's add a so update the front end We didn't actually watch the front end. Um, to have a much more detailed interface showing the LangGraph graph, explanations for what each node is doing that persist, and showing the flow of the agents as they work, so a new user can understand exactly what's going on and what each agent is doing. Also add a separate explanation page linked from the home page and job progress page that briefly describes LangGraph and how this project uses it in particular. Also, but before you do that, update the graph to enhance the written essay by having the top 8 citations chosen get expanded to several paragraphs before and after that chosen segment to give the agent more context for each quotation and have there be dedicated introduction writing for each theme that talks about the background of the characters and scenes being cited in the context of the entire story. Most books can fit also create an introduction for the essay that is created by just chunking the book into, I'm gonna like n paragraphs at a time and producing a summary for that chunk and do that serially so the essay can include a summary introduction of the book and its characters. This might mean a much more complicated graph, so do that first, then update the front and as directed above. Let's just go for the whole hog. We're coming up on our hour and 6 minutes. And I want this, now that we've seen that the architecture for creating that essay works and Claude is reliable in building LangGraph agents, we are also not, we're only at 65%. So with this last one big go and ask, hopefully we can turn this into we managed to make some sort of an essay to we're getting a good essay. And the other reason why I wanted to add the summary to the front um, is that for these kinds of books on Project Gutenberg, we might be leaning into the fact that the AI has definitely read them and will know a lot of what's going on. So when given citations, we'll already sort of be operating in the summary of the book. But like especially the discovery of the themes just being about um, like the title and author. That'll work great for well-known books, but for books that are not as well known, like we might want the themes to instead be pulled from the summary. And I wish I'd included that detail in my prompt actually. I'll be honest, today we might go over an hour. Or not. We don't want to pretend that deploying something is trivial. It's especially not trivial when it comes to deciding costs. How quickly are we killing our limit here? Not bad, not bad. Agents creating agents. That's what we have going on right now. So I really do want it to, instead of saying, oh, give me 4 to 6 possible themes based on this title and author, I want it to say, here's the summary of the book. And honestly, the summary was something you'd want to persist because it could use up a lot of tokens depending on how big the book is. I mean, what if someone put in their science textbook on this? That would be a big book to be reading and summarizing. It would be funny to see what this might create from a biology textbook. The themes of cell division, themes of empiricism, writing the final plan to the plan file. Okay. Enhance title document author fallback. That's great. New config. Add segments per summarization chunks. Expanded context window. 3 paragraphs before and after each citation. That's good. Return segments. It's a list of diffs. Summarizing. Uses a book summary. I do wish it would save the summary, but summarize book and then discover themes. Interesting. Updated draft prompt incorporating book summary theme intros. That's fine. I'm going to, that's good, but also make sure the summary for a book gets saved locally. So that future jobs can use it once it's created. And also um, have also make sure the themes are discovered based on the summary, not just the title and author. Good points. Let me update the plan with those two changes. We need a summary text column to cache the book summary. Yeah. Updated the plan. Updating the plan. Renumbering the sections. Add the discover themes update. Up, we're at an hour already. Today's gonna be longer than an hour. It's just how it's gonna be. Great. Let's check. We're at 80% used. I think we're probably going to end up going over our limit for today, for this session. And that's just the problem with asking Claude to do everything all at once. But we'll see. Maybe it won't be too much. Maybe it was reading everything and creating the plan that used a lot of tokens, and implementing it won't be because maybe it's working from the plan document, which is not so long, and updating these files one by one. I'm seeing only 2,000 tokens here, so could be that we'll be okay. This is a lot of just staring, right? But there's nothing like watching a timer. We could go read through its plan some more. Summary text column. New migration. Add 4 state fields, 2 new settings, change the detail tracking, summary extraction, add the book summary to job result response, 3 new nodes, updating 4 nodes, updating the theme discovery prompt, 3 new prompt pairs, wire 3 new nodes into the graph, a new visualization for the front end, use pipeline graph instead of step dots for the job progress view, a new explanation page, a new about route, add the nav links into a header, and add how it works link. Hey, it did the backend changes. And we're only at 88% used, so hopefully we can squeak through here. I think there's sort of an elegance in using up all of your session limit without going over. And we're still only at 48% used. You really got to use it for every 5 hours. Claude Code is going to start scheduling my day. Uh-oh, I've used 96% of my session limit. I hit my limit. We got index.ts, we got job.view, we got app header, job progress. We even got the about view. What are we missing? Honestly, I wonder if we 100% used. I wonder if we maybe made it through. Home, how it works. Well, that's not great. But we could fix that all on our own. Let's see. Stop and wait for the limit to reset. Could be that it managed to write all the files we wanted. Let's restart the job, the app worker. Restart the backend just for fun. We're already in front end, so we can't cd into it, but we can npm run dev. For how it works, let's go here. Look at our front end. Source. About view. Do we want this to be black? What's controlling this? Color dot p panel dot panel p. Yeah. Let's make it gray. Why not? Okay. There. Still got the weird J's. I guess it kept that. Home. 1342. Generate. Oh, we've got 500 internal server error. We flew too close to the sun. Oh, this is the wrong project. Oh, right. We might need to Vibecode upgrade. Oh, I know why that's happening. Source dot slash bin activate. Wait, maybe it's update. One of these days I'll remember. Alembic upgrade head. Okay, there we go. One, three, four, two. Hey, starting summarization. Isn't this fun? Summarizing chunks. Now we can check out our OpenAI usage. Surely we've been using some. Yes, we have. Generally, 3 cents. Nice to use a cheap model. This is what we had before. This is what we have now. Summarizing chunk 3, 4. This is going to take a while. And we're up to 1 hour and 15 minutes. So do we just want to sit here? How about this? I'll pause it, and once it either succeeds or fails, I will resume this video, and that's where we will end for the day. How about that? Great. All right. The document summarization did take a while, but in the end, we did complete the essay. And before we look at it in detail, I wanted to make one small change over here to the essay display. Enhance the display of Markdown to style headers and all that stuff properly in this component. I'm going to use Gemini 2.5 Pro and GitHub Copilot in VS Code, just editing this one essay display component because it's already using marked. It just needs to update the styling a little bit. Oh, I asked it in the wrong context, but so what I can do is just, I should have asked in the agentic tab, but that's okay. We'll just put that in there, and hopefully, I was hoping that would display things better. Maybe it doesn't like this. Still not great. I guess it is. It's displaying it the right way, so we'll explore that some other time. Anyway, the essay did come out nicely. We have our introduction, Pride and Prejudice. Hope you don't mind the book being ruined. It closes by converting the novel's social tensions into private resolution. Marriages founded on esteem and moral improvement replace arrangements based chiefly on rank or convenience. The plot's final reconciliations, Darcy's secret intervention in Lydia's emergency, the reuniting of Bingley and Jane, Elizabeth's acknowledgement of error and acceptance of Darcy, make the novel's ethical argument concrete and domestic. In what follows, I treat 6 central themes in turn, beginning each section with the supplied thematic introduction, and then analyzing specific textual evidence to show how Austen stages transformation from social fault to private virtue. Now, before we continue, let's take a quick look at some usage. We've got our Pinecone usage. We just have 2,400 or so embeddings, well below their limit. We used 100% of our Claude code, but it did manage to make all the changes we wanted. Claude code for the session, that is. Now, under OpenAI usage, we did manage to burn through 31 cents using GPT 5 mini, and so that's mostly where it went to. Embeddings was a very small amount of the usage, and 76 requests with 270,000 input tokens. Is that what that says here? Is that a period? Yes, 270,000 input tokens. Most of that was probably the summarization. And so, all in all, our full true cost for this, if you count the Claude Code subscription, it's $20, but obviously you could use that for multiple projects each month. So this used 1 session's worth of Claude Code, and I guess about 10% of a weekly um, need, although we did do some of this with OpenAI Codex. And otherwise, it was 30 cents to get this essay. So, is it a good essay? Let's just read a couple of the themes. Pride and personal transformation. Introduction. From the moment the novel announces itself by naming its twin vices, pride is shown not as a single fault, but as a many-sided social force, a marker of class and breeding, a species of self-regard, and a screen for insecurity. It shapes first impressions and public behavior. Darcy's aloof reserve, Lady Catherine's imperiousness, Miss Bingley's performative superiority, Mrs. Bennet's fretful acquisitiveness, while also informing private moral postures in characters who fancy themselves superior in taste, learning, or feeling. The narrative sets up pride against its natural companion, prejudice, and then stages encounters, most crucially Darcy's explanatory letter and the long walk after his confession, the crisis of Lydia's elopement, and Lady Catherine's officious visit, through which what seemed fixed in social rank and personality is put to the test. These themes make pride a lived problem, not merely a topic of conversation among judgmental characters, but the engine of misunderstanding and of the corrective processes that follow. Analysis. Austen presents pride both as socially explicable and morally dangerous. Miss Lucas defends Darcy's hauteur as a predictable consequence of family, fortune, and everything in his favor, conceding that he has a right to be proud. Observation recorded at the assembly, which frames pride as socially conditioned rather than merely vicious. Yet Elizabeth's sharp rejoinder, "I could easily forgive his pride if he had not mortified mine," shows how pride operates personally, generating reciprocal mortification and misunderstanding. Austen also lets characters theorize pride in moral terms. Mary's reflection distinguishes pride, our opinion of ourselves, from vanity, what we wish others to think, underwriting the book's interest in interior motive and self-regard. Darcy himself articulates the inward source of his early hauteur. He confesses that upbringing and indulgence made him selfish and overbearing, taught to think meanly of all the rest of the world, until Elizabeth properly humbled him. That passage links proud feeling to moral blindness, and crucially, to the conditions of its correction, Elizabeth's influence, which converts wounded self-regard into generosity. Austen dramatizes pride's mixed effects via Wickham's account. He blames pride for many of Darcy's actions, even while conceding that pride also occasioned liberality and duty towards tenants and family, suggesting pride can be channeled for good when allied to responsibility. Wickham's ambivalent testimony. Finally, the narrative makes transformation practical. Darcy's decision to repair Lydia's dishonor, an unostentatious, costly intervention, manifests the conversion of proud resources into beneficence, a demonstration that pride, once redirected by self-knowledge and love, may sustain rather than fracture domestic happiness. Book summary, Darcy's confession and acts. So up here we actually have evidence, and this evidence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's showing us, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the top 8 segments that it pulled in order to talk about each of these themes. And I'll say this essay is not bad. It's obviously written by AI because of the formatting, but if you took it and reformatted it and redid some of the citations, this turns into a 10-page double-spaced essay that seems to be, you know, not terrible. It's interesting ideas. Conclusion. Taken together, the evidence shows that Austen's late scenes convert pride, prejudice, and social calculation into a moral domestic settlement. Darcy's humility and beneficence, Elizabeth's corrected judgment, and the reordering of family relations result from inward self-knowledge enacted in private deeds. The novel satirizes social pretension at every turn, Lady Catherine's officiousness and Mr. Collins's obsequiousness among them, yet it reserves moral authority for character and reciprocal esteem rather than for birth alone. Where transformation is possible, it is gradual, exemplified by Darcy's confession and Elizabeth's shame. Where character is fixed, social folly continues, most painfully in Lydia and Wickham's case. So Austen's resolution is consoling, but realistic. Ultimately, Pride and Prejudice privileges the private virtues of humility, prudence, and domestic affection as the best guarantors of lasting happiness. Now, is this perfect? Certainly not. And if we wanted to, we could expand the graph, etc. But I think as a demo for the power of AI agents and as a demonstration that Claude Code is more sophisticated than OpenAI's Codex, I think there was a big success on this second um, second uh, attempt to build this with an agentic system. So with that, we're going to end today's session, and I will try to make um, this available online, maybe at the beginning of tomorrow's session, or simply offline after this by deploying to fly.io, um, perhaps with the help of Cloud Code in a few hours once my limit resets. If I do that, I'll include the link in the description for this video on YouTube. All right, see you tomorrow.